Hey there, everybody. This is Steven, Just a Guy Georgiou. And you know what? It's been quite a while since I've made a video. And I honestly hadn't planned to do one today. But I did want to go over some news that came up. And I had actually planned to write a reply, but I can only fit so many characters into a normal social media post. And to be honest, it wasn't enough to try and say a couple of things that I want to get out. First of all, obviously, if you haven't heard already, Ridiculous Hat is no longer employed by Hearthstone. His contract was allowed to lapse, and they have not, as of today, rehired him. And I certainly hope that that is something that will happen in the future, possibly, maybe. But you know what, to be honest, that's a pretty selfish thing to hope. And I'll get into that in a second as well. For anybody who may have tripped over this who has no idea who I am, which I understand entirely, I'm sort of that unusual person who I think has a pretty unique perspective on the game of Hearthstone. I was a player since shortly after beta. And as I may have mentioned once or twice in the past, I have a couple of family members that are actually devs on the team. And I certainly have used that over the years to have some fun, make some content, joke around a bit. It's also allowed me to engage with people in a community that I had absolutely no experience with before. And to be perfectly honest, it's let me make some really good friends that I never would have met otherwise over that period of time. And I really do think that I've got sort of an interesting view from the cheap seats when it comes to the game and the development and the people that are working on it and some of the things that I think a lot of people in the community never actually get to see. And one of those things is how the team often interacts with each other behind the scenes. And one of the people on the team, thankfully, for the last 2.5 years, has been Ridiculous Hat. And I can tell you unequivocally that that human being is one of the most incredible people that I've ever been fortunate enough to meet in my life. And that's not trying to overstate this. I understand we're talking about somebody who currently doesn't have a job. We're not talking about somebody who died, thankfully. We're not talking about some of the certainly bigger, more dramatic issues that are going on in the world right now. And I don't want to act like this is the same thing, but in my little corner of the globe, in my little world that I like to keep an eye on and pay attention to, this is a pretty big deal. And if you're anyone who enjoys the game and respects the people that actually do their jobs the right way to make your engagement with the game better, that's this person. If God could have created the ideal human being to represent this game and make sure that anything that could possibly be done to answer questions or help people with problems or be the face to the community when really confusing, questionable decisions keep being made that challenges your ability to play the game and continue to play. You couldn't have asked for anybody better than this. This is a person who, at 2:30 in the morning, in a Discord channel, one of God knows how many he's actually engaged in, when somebody tags him asking for some help with a bug or a question with the game, he's there at 2:30 in the morning. Why? Because that's who he is. Because he can give the answers. Because he wants to help. Because he's a decent human being who actually is, without question, somebody that you want in that position doing that job. You know, I've been a business owner, badly as it may have been, for 30 years now. And one of the challenges with owning a business is always a matter of finding the right people to work for you. you've got to find somebody with a certain skill set that hopefully can accomplish the job and do what you'd like them to do. That's number one, certainly. And you can attempt to try and figure that out by talking to the person. But one of the things that you're not entirely sure of, and you're sort of often taking a leap of faith when it comes to who you choose to do that job, is who that person really is and how they're going to work with and play with others. Is that a human being that you actually would want to have a beer with on a Saturday night after work? Is that somebody who, when they end up in a bad situation, when they're confronted and treated badly by someone else, which goodness knows happens in this position that I'm talking about over and over again, could you find somebody who can actually react with patience and kindness and decency and take someone who is angry and irritated and acting and doing things that are not necessarily appropriate, and by the time you're done with them, turn them into somebody who understands that the way they were behaving was wrong and that they actually needed to change how they were acting and what they were saying and what they were doing that was causing problems? That's what you got out of this. Being able to find the right person for a position, and then hopefully being able to treat them properly enough so that they stay in that job, is one of the absolute fundamentals to running any kind of a business, whether it's a small 5-person store like I have, or whether it's a multi-billion-dollar corporation. The skill set is exactly the same. Identify talent, put them in a position that hopefully will allow them to excel at the skills and the abilities that they have, and then give them everything they need to succeed. What am I missing with this? What possible thought, which I attempt to give people in this position? I don't know who's behind the decision-making process specifically when it comes to this instance. I don't know who let Ridiculous Hat sit on contracts for 2.5 years. I don't know who allowed his contract to expire. I don't know who exemplified the frugality of your corporation in order to not make him a permanent hire, not make sure he never left. I don't know who that is specifically. But I will tell you, whoever you are, that there's nothing about this decision that I can give you the benefit of the doubt. I do that a lot. Blizzard over the years has made a lot of decisions that I don't understand and that I don't agree with. And I think a lot of times I basically just assume that, well, you're an idiot, Stephen. You don't understand these things. You don't have any experience in the complexity of what goes on in these big corporations and how decision making is actually created and how long it takes to be able to actually process all of these different things. I've tried to give you the benefit of the doubt. I've tried to understand, and I don't claim to know by any means everything. But I do know that if you're fortunate enough to trip over somebody who comes to work for you, who is as pre-made for the position by his own work, by his own absolute dedication and the effort that he made to learn the game, to be part of the community before he ever knocked on your door looking for a position. I have no clue how you could ever not be so joyous over the fact that that human being is working for you. Let's do everything we possibly can to make sure that doesn't change. Let's hope that whatever the case may be as the years come, that he doesn't fall in love with a different game, that we don't allow him to become disenchanted with whatever it is we're doing, and that we can try and create more people with that passion and with that ability and intelligence to represent what we're doing to the players in the community and also to the people who work there. There's been a lot of instances over the years where I have concerns for how things are going on and how they're affecting my kids. And my kids don't want to be parented nonstop, which is understandable. But it's still nice to be able to stay connected to what they're doing and make sure everything is okay, to know if there's anything I can say or do with them that maybe I can attempt to do that. Being able to reach out to Hat and just check in with him so I could get a perspective on how things were, so that I could see what was going on, to say, hey, it looks like there's some rough stuff going on. Could you take a look? Could you talk to them, maybe see how things are going? Because that's not always something that it's my place to do. Being able to have that person who was so kind and so decent to be able to do that for me was really a blessing. And I hope, in all reality, that he'll be back doing that. I hope that's the case. And I hope anybody watching this would certainly agree. I can't find a single person anywhere on social media or that I've chatted with anywhere else that has a bad thing to say about this person. Everybody is upset or unhappy or outraged that this decision somehow came to pass. I don't know why. I would like to hope it's an oversight on some level, that it's incompetence more than it's intentional. And I do hope that it's as quickly as possible addressed and corrected. Because if you want to see this game and you want to see this community continue to thrive, which I would hope we all do, then you can't let people like this go. You can't let them get away if they're trying to escape, if you can do everything you can to prevent it. So wake up. Look at where you stand and where you want to go. And identify the people who are working for you or could work for you that will make that everything that you hope it can be. And Ridiculous Hat is top of the list. You can't possibly not see that. So I hope that you do what you can. I hope everybody who watches this listens to my ramblings a little bit longer than what they usually go. Understands that this is a big deal to a lot of us. It's not just another piece of the puzzle. It's actually somebody who puts the puzzle together. And that's a big deal. So I hope that you do whatever you can to ensure that, while it may not necessarily be the best thing for him, if Ridiculous Hat can return to a good, solid, stable, well-compensated, well-treated position, doing what he is so exceptional at doing, then I hope that's what comes to pass. Thank you for listening, and I'll keep my fingers crossed.